check, 1, 2. Check, check. Check, check. Okay, cool. Well, hello, Patreon members. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Well, thank you very much for subscribing as a member, because as a member, you get exclusive content and early release content, as well as behind the scenes stuff. This is like technically behind the scenes, but we were not going to go too far behind the scenes, because if we did, then, well, that would take a little bit more hooking up. And we've done a lot of hooking today. I mean, by that, I mean, of course, putting the HDMIs inside of the cameras and the audio devices inside of the 1/4-inch and XLR places. So we did a lot of hooking up, a lot of clicking, a lot of clicks. And we just are glad that you were able to click in, click on, click to. And remember to follow the YouTube, because also there is some exciting things going on in there. There is Zombies in the Mist on YouTube, as well as on Roku channel, the All This Entertainment channel. Check that out, as well as some of the other content we got. A lot of other content featuring a lot of different artists: Johnny Hayes, Indy Rashad, Phil J, Jay Haynes. It's a real good time, especially if you enjoy just, seeing people come from when they started to just doing their thing all the time and every day. So we're excited to be able to work with different artists, and of course up and coming filmmakers and stuff. We have Austin behind the cams, and we have Chris behind the board, the tech direct board, and then I'm sure I think Jimbo's behind the thing, so he's gonna give us the lights whenever they decide to get all wonky and change, because you see that beautiful purple right there on the sign. For some reason, the lights just change. They change. And then we just got to press the button again after they change. But the question is, why? So we would, if you have a comment on why that would be, why lights, Parcan lights would just change out of nowhere, then let us know in the comments, because we've been racking our heads. Actually, the other day I came in and I saw literally Austin hitting his head up against the wall. Because he said, I'm trying to figure this out. And I was like, well, banging your head against the wall probably isn't helping. But he was very adamant about doing it, and that was great. But we didn't figure it out. But that's okay, because you can leave a message, leave a comment for us, and let's see if we can figure that out. That's going to be nice. Yeah. So I feel like the dude that, on Mrs. Doubtfire that's doing the dinosaur thing. He's teaching the dinosaur stuff, where everybody behind the cameras are falling asleep. And I'm talking about the Tyrannosaurus Rex or something. And here's our special guest tonight. She came all the way from down the street, and we're excited, really excited to have her today. And she's hanging out here in the studio with Mortez Poet. Is making his debut. He's been doing some music on Instagram as well, so shout out to him. And you can go ahead and get the microphone comfortable to you. You can bring it a little, however you feel that you don't have to move it, but it's still right in front of you. Cause so I have it usually pretty much right here, So it doesn't have to be that close. Just kind of depends on how much you project and everything. So if you feel like you're going to be yelling, then you could probably play with the microphone and all that. That's good. Cool. I think is she muted or unmuted? Cool. Well, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm glad that we got a chance to do this after having had to postpone that other week for health reasons.
How are you doing then?
Oh, I'm doing good. My elbow had this infection, and I couldn't move my arm at all, and it was very painful. And I don't know what it specifically was, but I took some antibiotics and it was gone in a week. But this episode though is not about me though.
Oh, right.
And we haven't even jumped into it. We're kind of just shooting back and forth. But I very much enjoy your content.
Really?
I remember a couple months ago when you first ran across my page. I guess you had just started really doing it, and I just like the humanization of the Bible stories that you do, like where it's like you tell people like, listen, you got to have context with these things before you start reading them. Like it's great to know these things, but context is everything.
It is.
And I think that's a huge thing that people kind of forget about sometimes. So I'm glad that you as an educator are like saying that to people, like, hey, get your knowledge up, because then it just kind of like allows you to understand the story in a different way rather than being so like, black and white of like, oh, he did this just because he was bad. No, there's a little bit more to it,
right?
Kind of thing. So yeah, I'm glad to be able to talk to you today.
Y'all got a piece of paper?
We got some flowers.
Let me get my shoes out.
Are you recording?
Let me get these out. Wait, can I blow up?
You got to get all the flavor out.
Okay.
There's an orange waiting for you afterwards.
I'm be looking for my orange. Because you made me get rid of my last piece of gum. There is no more in my purse.
Well, hold on. What kind of gum was it?
Extra?
Like, what flavor?
Wintergreen?
Oh, yeah. Wintergreen and spearmint are like the best.
Great for your breath.
They are. I feel like I know she's not saying it directly to me, but now I have that self-conscious feeling of like my breath smells bad.
Bro, I can't smell your breath.
I'm just saying. It was like whenever somebody goes like this, like cleans their teeth or something, or looking at you, do that or something. It's like you thinking that they're saying like you got something in your teeth, bro, or like there's something wrong with your face. You know.
I was talking about myself. I wasn't talking about myself. I wasn't talking about you. I'm gonna be looking for my orange for real though.
It's a good orange. I think you really like the orange, and like I said, earlier, like we can frolic in the trees, and
you're gonna have to provide context to my frolicking in trees.
Well, it's more or less like you're skipping to the tree. Like take the path, skip to my loo a little bit.
But ain't it gonna be dark?
It is, but then that means that there won't be as many mosquitoes. They'll still be there, but then you had to deal with moths, and then also the crazy guy that's like next door.
It's fine. We could just get an orange from the store.
But these are the oranges that like you know how like whenever you get something and there was like a trek or like a quest that had to be done in order to get this thing, it just makes it taste that much better. Knowing that you went through all those obstacles, the crazy man, the frolicking, skipping, even
Are we still talking about oranges?
I think so.
It don't sound like we talking about oranges no more.
The orange is picked from the tree.
Yeah, you went a little. Yeah, you went a little far off there.
That's okay. Well, anyways, so we appreciate you hanging out today with us on Offbeat. We're inside of Quasi Studios, brought to you by All This Entertainment, the Offbeat podcast. And today we have a special guest, Ms. Jerrica Wiley, who is also the podcast host of Ghetto Bible Tales that you can find on YouTube, on Instagram, and of course we have Mortez Poet over here. He's gathering some behind-the-scenes footage for the cruise and for Jerrica, and we appreciate you being here, man. And y'all just recently dropped a video that you did.
Yes, we did. We dropped a song called "Good Day."
Cool. So how did that? Was it something that y'all had been planning to do, or just kind of like just happened because you just wanted to make it?
Well, I had been did the song. He just kind of jumped on it last minute, really.
Nice.
What? Well, no. I sent it to him a long time ago, but it was never really meant for him to actually be on there. Mm-hmm. But then that's the version everybody ended up liking. It made me feel some type of way that they only like me with him. It made me feel some type of way. But it worked out for good, I guess.
And that's why you're here, because maybe people just like they need to know you more. They need to get to know who you are, which is really cool because I've also saw that you did an open mic at OWA a couple weeks back as well. Mm-hmm. So how was that? How did that go?
It was cool. It's nice. Like it's different when you sing covers versus singing your own music, mm-hmm. and how you go and you start and people don't know you and you have to like get them to come on your side.
Yeah.
And by the middle of it, everybody was like vibing. So, and it wasn't a crowd that I thought would like me anyway.
Why do you feel like it? Was it like something that like a?
Cause there was a lot of older people,
Okay.
but they all like they was vibing, they was rocking. Everybody hugged me after. Never been hugged after a performance before.
By a bunch of old people.
Yes. Everybody hugged me. You did such a good job. They were so nice.
But as long as you like that sounds really cool because I mean that's is that like an experience that you've, like maybe like in a way your spirit kind of needed it, like where it's just
Yeah,
like,
because it kind of makes like hard work
yeah.
it make it seem like your work is paid off. Because it's one thing if it's like your friends or your family always telling you that they like it. I mean, that family, they're supposed to do that, but when it's strangers, it's different.
Yeah, it definitely hits differently, especially as far as like, because it's kind of sometimes difficult to get people on the same wavelength as you, as far as like creativity and like, what music that you like and stuff. And like, obviously, if it's your music, then it's definitely a whole different level where it's like, I spent my time on this. These are experiences that these people like are going on with me in a journey.
Right.
And for them to like resonate with it, it's like, I'm sure that does feel really good.
It does.
That's cool.
It was nice.
So what were the songs that you ended up playing?
I did Good Day and Woman Part 2.
Okay. So is there any particular like reason why you went with those songs? Or was it just like you wanted to get them out there, or just like you wanted people to hear them, or just?
Since I was sitting, I felt like they were just easier to sing while sitting down. Because I feel like a lot of my music is real dancey.
I can feel that you do have a lot of bounce in your tunes
yeah.
that you post.
But those two were like you could sit down and vibe with those.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, shoot, like all the content I've seen, I'm sitting down and vibing. Like you just like have that time when you.
But
just,
I feel like
as
like the performer, like you can't sit down every song.
Yeah, that's true.
And the way it was set up, it was like multiple people on the stage at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like 3 performers on the stage at the same time.
Oh, because y'all doing like a round.
Yeah.
So like one song.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah. I think those are great ways to introduce people to new music, especially by like, because so you were like, what element were you feeling? Like the more like the hip hop and the more like lyrical style?
Of the people that were there?
Yeah, like the musicians that were on the stage.
Most of the people that were there were kind of more geared toward blues and country.
Okay.
I think I might have been the only person that was centered toward R&B or hip hop.
Okay.
Everybody else was blues and country. So I did kind of feel like out of place.
Which is interesting because like it's crazy because like they all derive from the same influences of like old country and old bluegrass and stuff like so it like. We recently had a show here called The Collab.
I was here.
Yeah, you
for
were
that.
here for that. Yeah,
and I want to be on the next one.
Hey, we gonna do
just
it.
Saying.
And well, and it's kind of like it's great to have like those mixtures of music, like the genres where like some people might not necessarily listen to that music, but then they get in that essence and that vibe, and they're like, oh wow, okay, I can see what this is about. Especially like because a lot of people are turned off by just like sometimes like heavy rhythms, but then it's more sometimes about the lyrics too. So like I mean, it sounds like with people coming up to you afterwards, engaging with it, and like kind of vibing throughout it, like that you really like kind of resonated with them, even as like those other artists were like something that they normally listen to, like that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it was a cool experience. They asked me to come back in November.
Okay.
Because I think they have like I think it's like a songwriters festival or something. It's like 3 days.
Oh.
Nice. But I'm only going for 1 day.
So let's kind of take a step back. So where did you start? Did you start as like somebody that wanted to be on a camera and like engage with people to be educate with Bible stuff? Did you start with just like how did it become a thing where you were starting to teach people, you were starting to want to really engage with music? Like how do you feel that really started out?
Ghetto Bible Tales kind of stems from Mr. Martez Poet over there. We grew up in a household where my mom had Bible study with us like every morning before school. Every morning, Monday through Friday, never failed. We had Bible study before we got on the bus.
Yeah.
And when me and him would have conversation later, retelling each other the stories, the way I tell it on the podcast is how we told each other. And we were like, man, people need to hear it this way. Because going to church, I don't know if y'all know, like going to a black church, like it's just, it's just so aggressive and it
like
don't.
it's intense.
It's very intense, especially I'm Baptist. It's so intense, and I was like, it just make you not want to even read or engage with the Bible at all.
It's like, is God gonna be yelling at me through the pages the whole
Right.
time? Yeah.
Right. And when I was growing up, the only version of the Bible I knew was King James version. I had no idea that there were other translations. That's just how closed off I was. And I was like, what if we go with something that's like ghetto? There's more country, ghetto, whatever. Like how we just have a genuine conversation talking about God. I just felt like we should just do that.
Rather than like making it so complicated.
Right.
Yeah.
So the first time I did it, it was in 2015. And it was just on my Facebook. I think I did David and Bathsheba.
Okay.
And it really resonated with a lot of people that are from where I'm from. The people that were my Facebook friends. And then sporadically I would do little things. But I didn't really start focusing on it heavy, like doing it every other week until 2022.
Yeah. So as far as like the stories in which like resonate with you, were those the stories that like you kind of started working with first, by the ones that you kind of had conversation with before, like ones that, you know, because I'm sure you have moments where you like pick up the Bible, you open it, and then like certain verses resonate with you. Was it kind of like that at first, where you went through that, or did you go through just like other stories that just kind of randomly spoke out to you?
I think they all randomly spoke out to me. But the reason I did David first is because he's like my favorite person in the Bible. Okay. Because I feel like out of everybody in the Bible, you get to see his whole story. Because if you read his story and then you go read Psalms, it's like a reality TV show, and then Psalms is like his conversation about what happened. So I really like David because I feel like he's like one of the most transparent people in the Bible. So that's why I resonated with him first and wanted to tell his story about how you really killed your homeboy wife, killed your homeboy for his wife.
Yeah, yeah.
You really did that.
Yeah.
Because when you read and study the story, he knew that man. They fought together. You put that man on the front line and you killed his wife. You killed him for his wife. That's trifling. That is trifling.
I do think it's really interesting because like the way you're talking about David, because he has like what, 3 books in the whole Bible, and then like, you know, I think about like Job, where he only had like a section. You know, it's just like,
but the book of Job was long.
But it wasn't when you're like thinking, it's like, bro, so you telling me God and the devil had a bet going with each other, saying, nah, man, yeah, devil, yeah, you could do whatever you want to, but I guarantee you that this man will look back at me and say, God, oh God. Like,
and you know how crazy it is to be like the person that God betted on? Because he would have lost if he had betted on me. Dude. He would have lost. He would have lost. I'm sorry. He would have lost.
I'm glad he did, because then I would have been like, oh, wait a minute. Is God not omnipotent? He didn't know? He didn't know? Like, because you know, like, that makes me think of, like, Adam and Eve whenever people, like, talk about, they argue so much about creation and, like, where we come from, where we stem from and stuff, and, like, good and evil, sin and not sin and stuff, and I'm just like, well, God knowing all things, God knew that Adam and Eve would eventually take a bite of the fruit, you know? So it's like, you know, the first time I heard that, I was like, holy crap, that's true. Like, God knows all things.
Well, I think the thing with Adam and Eve is the choice. God likes to be chosen. And so
invited, yeah.
In that situation, they didn't choose him. They chose what they wanted.
Yeah, no, that's very true. You know, and like I always think about, like, in Spanish, sin is means without. And I always think that whenever people say sin, I'm just like imagining that like people are just without like grace or without mercy or forgiveness at a certain point, where it's like you said, like they had a choice to choose whether or not they wanted to do what they did in the graciousness of God by not partaking in the fruit, but then the choice of partaking in the fruit without God. Like that's nice. I like that. That's fun stuff. Sorry. All right. No, I'm a very big fan of like God talk and stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm a nerd.
Like
a Bible nerd.
I very much appreciate like that, because that's what spoke out to me with what you were doing, is like especially how in your earlier in a lot of your earlier videos on YouTube and stuff, you would kind of explain like at the beginning what the context of everything. And I think that's a big deal because sometimes in church, you don't dive into that. You kind of give like the cliff notes of everything. Like you said, sometimes it can be very aggressive, especially if you don't know the context of the story. And it's like, well, how am I supposed to feel when you're up there kind of from the pulpit kind of like yelling at how I should feel about this? But then it's like how am I supposed to experience this as a believer, as a lover of Christ and a follower? Like I think that's really cool how you explain that.
Yeah, because I think what people fail to understand is that this Bible is from Israel. Mm-hmm. It's ancient Israel, which is a completely different culture from America, mm-hmm. from where we all grew up. Even the language was different. Like it wasn't even originally written in English. Mm-hmm. Like everything is different. So you have to take into context how it was translated, what phrases they might have meant this by in Hebrew versus what it would mean in English. Mm-hmm. Like everything is different. All languages are different. Spanish, French, everybody, even English from different areas. People from the South speak different from the people in the East, from the West. And I might not understand nothing somebody say if I go to California. And they might not understand what I say because I'm Southern. So I think all that has to be taken into context when you're reading the Bible. You just can't read it and apply your modern day culture mm-hmm. to the Bible because that's not what it is.
Yeah, no, and I feel that because like especially like with like the different forms of saying love, like pathos, logos, ethos, and like agape, like the different levels of what love means versus like a friendship love or relationship love or godly love or something. And like they're all the same language, but they all have a different emphasis by the word itself.
Right.
So like, yeah, I feel that. So what was that something like you kind of like started experiencing early on in your life where you kind of like enjoyed like the Bible story and then all that stuff just kind of came later?
Yeah.
So, okay. And you said that you and Mortez kind of like were kind of...
Yeah, he kind of got me on to studying the culture and studying the language and what the words mean. Because for a long time, I didn't really like it. Because like I said, I only knew the King James Version. And the King James Version is just so, to read for me.
Says you like, does that with go before Yusith or that with this twist?
Like who talks like that? I really And then like Psalms was my least favorite book because I don't like poetry like that. Mm-hmm. And so,
which is interesting because you just said you love David. You like David, that's
right?
Cool.
And what I found out is that the Hebrew language is so poetic in the mm-hmm. way God talks about people and the way he talks about his love for his creation is all very poetic because God is a creator. So I had to study that. It was a headache, but I'm getting better at it.
Are you a studier or like were you somebody that had to learn to study?
I'm not a studier like that. If it entertains me, then I can get into it.
Okay, that makes sense.
The Bible entertains me.
It is a very entertaining book.
It's there's so many funny, interesting things in there that don't nobody talk about. Mm-hmm. And it entertains me. So that's why it's easy for me to read it. Now, if you put me in school and ask me to study something, it ain't gonna work. I don't like studying like that. I ain't never liked school.
Nope.
It ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work. But the Bible entertains me, so it's easy for me to sit down and read it.
So what's a like a fresh story that you can think of, that one that kind of just like entertains you when you think of the Bible? Oh no!
If you had that, you shouldn't.
Oh no, time.
You shouldn't have asked me that. Jeremy, help me out. Give me something. Oh,
I love Jonah.
Jonah is my spirit animal.
Yeah, dude.
He is, because he was like, man, I don't like them people. I ain't going over there to preach. Favorites.
Maybe
that
God
is one of my
notice.
favorites, actually. That is one of my favorites. And then after he went over there and preached that lackluster sermon with only 8 words, he sat outside and was like, I'm gonna watch the city fall. And he just sat there.
And well, and what's funny is that because wasn't a plant grew, like God grew a plant and then basically killed it and said, all right, Jonah, you gotta go. You gotta move, man.
But then we don't know. And another thing I like about his story is like open-ended. You don't know if he changed because God was like, you need to care about these people. And Jonah was like, I don't care about these people. I hope they all die. And you don't, that's literally how it ends. Like you don't know if he grow to love people. Mm-hmm. You don't know nothing.
Well, I think that kind of resonates too with like the whole like you never know who's God's gonna use, but at the same time, it's like if it's you, like it kind of lets you know it's you. Like I just think it's interesting. Like how can one even in modern times like hear God's voice like they would have back then? You know,
Man,
like
listen, when he talking, it's loud. Trust me, it's loud because I did not want to be sitting behind a camera telling Bible stories. That was never something I wanted to do. Cause like I said, I started in 2015 and I stopped.
yeah.
Cause I ain't want to. And like God was like, "Oh, but you gonna do it," and He keep, you gonna do it. So I had to do it, and He wouldn't shut up.
So was it like you hearing that, like feeling like the pull of doing it, like through the time that you stopped doing it to the time you started doing it again? Like, was it a constant thing, or like every now and then kind of comes back? Like you should do
I think
this.
it was kind of constant. Cause my relationship with God was kind of rocky. We
Yeah.
were going up and down, and I really didn't want to. Cause when you study your Bible, you spending time with God. I ain't really want to spend time with Him like that for real.
Yeah.
I was going through something. I ain't want to talk to Him. I ain't want to go to church. I ain't want to read no Bible either.
Yeah, no, and I feel that, and for me personally, I feel like when I started kind of went away from God a little bit, it wasn't necessarily because of God, it was the people, or like somebody that made me feel as if like, well,
Yeah.
God should be this way, God should be that
It was
way. Like,
church.
yeah, and it was like, but then like the reiteration of people saying, hey, the church is the body and the people, but where some people make it seem as if the church is like, you had to be inside these walls in order to receive this grace or this forgiveness or understanding. It's like, well, if we're all connected, then you can breathe and just God's right there.
Well, God
You
broke
know?
that down with COVID when you couldn't go to church. When you couldn't go to church.
No, you're right. Well, we appreciate you hanging out with us, ladies and gentlemen, binary, non-binary. I'm with Jerrica Wiley. She is the host of Ghetto Bible Tales. You can find them on YouTube and Instagram. When we come back, we're going to be learning a little bit more about Jerrica's story and just how she got into, just loving the people enough to even do these.
I don't like these
stories.
people.
You-
I'm just playing.
Hey, but you can follow on Instagram, and then you don't have to hear the stories, and then she'll respond every now and then. She'll like it. You got it.
Man.
Well, we'll see y'all in a second. We appreciate y'all. We'll be right back.
Where my orange?
Thanks, YouTube follower. Thank you. This is green peels from an orange. And if you let us know in the comments what you think about green oranges being called oranges, though they are green, let us know. Thank you for joining us back here on Offbeat, live from Quasi Studios, brought to you by All This Entertainment. I'm Sergio, and we're with Jerrica Wiley, who is the host of Ghetto Bible Stories on YouTube and Instagram. And we were just talking a little bit about like how she got into the storytelling aspect of it, and we're really not done yet from there, because you were telling us a couple of your more fair Bible stories that you enjoy, the Bible stories you liked, but also like how you got into it. So you had a break in 2015, started back in 2022.
Yeah.
And then through that you felt like you were getting pulled to do it, like God kind of kept pushing you into doing that and stuff. Okay, so your relationship with God, you had kind of mentioned a little bit too that like it was a little bit hard for you when you were younger because the Bible and stuff, like the way that people talked about the Bible, the people that were in the church and stuff. So how do you get back into just wanting to learn the Bible and study the Bible? And I know you said Mortez was influenced that, but like, I mean, you personally, what did that journey kind of look like?
Well, since God kept nagging,
as God does.
In order to get him to be quiet, you just got to do what he tells you to do, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to do it. And when I started studying, I just felt closer to him. And it just made me wanting to keep doing it. Like, it made me feel better because I was going through depression and sad and homicidal, not suicidal, homicidal.
I understand.
And so, like, that's what really got me back into it is because God kept going, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do it, 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 you need to do it. So in order to silence him, I had to do it. Or I was going to still be bothered by him saying, you need to do it. And it's like, it gets louder and louder. So it's like, just go ahead and do what God said to do. Like, there's no point in prolonging something. Mm-hmm. When God ordained you to do something, you just got to go ahead and do it.
So kind of like with that, do you feel like some of the state of minds in which you were feeling were kind of like, not necessarily him saying that you needed, like he was trying to push you to like listening what you need to do, but like do you feel like they were attributed to like you not listening, kind of like Jonah and the whale, where like God put an obstacle to listen to him, and so like maybe God like had put those obstacles in your mind to go back to him at anything?
I don't think God puts obstacles in people's lives. I think that we ignore the path that he laid out for us and we take another direction. Mm-hmm. And that puts us on a path of running into obstacles when God had already made it easy for you anyway, but you was like, I want to find out on my own.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what it was. It was just, I grew up a church kid and I didn't want to be a church kid. Mm-hmm. Like you want to live life. Yeah. And I ain't want to be a church kid. Like even sometimes now I don't want to be the Bible girl. Mm-hmm. But I am. I was at Mob Fest and this lady come up to me and she was like, "You're the Bible girl. Can I take a picture with you?" And it was so weird to me to be known as the Bible girl. And like that's an image I had to learn how to accept because I didn't want to. Mm-hmm. And with coming from Southern church, the idea or how they look at you as a Christian, I don't look like what that looks like. Mm-hmm. Like the way I act, the way I talk, every now and then I might cuss. Mm-hmm. I'm a cuss.
Yeah. Sometimes it just feels like we're at the moment.
That's because that's authentically who I am. But does that mean I'm less of a Christian or that I love God less? Does it mean that you love God more just because you don't curse? Mm-hmm. And I had to gain an understanding of being my authentic self. God loves you as your authentic self. Mm-hmm. Instead of me hiding and trying not to be the church girl or the Bible girl.
Yeah. Which is interesting, too, because it's like, in a weird way, it's like when you try to be somebody else other than who God intended, it's like you're kind of slapping him in the face a little bit.
Right.
It's like I made you a certain way. You can just be that way, and you don't have to feel so nervous or scared.
Right, because even with singing, I didn't sing for a long time because I didn't want to be the church girl. I didn't want to be the girl that's singing about God and then turn around and start writing music. Almost every song I write about is about him.
God.
And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, man, you going at the end of the day, you're gonna do what God wants you to do anyway.
So how did that originally feel? Because like I definitely understand that feeling, but like when you kind of noticed that, like did you have like oh man, like it's like a you know those feelings when you got like the presence on you, you kind of like shake, your whole body kind of shakes and you get goosebumps a little bit, like
Oh, I cried like a baby.
yeah,
I'd be on the floor crying,
yeah.
cry like a baby.
And that's
And sometimes
that's
when
awesome.
I'm doing the ghetto bops, I have to like rein myself in, cause I'll go in and I start boohooing, and then ain't nobody gonna be able to understand nothing I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I go there.
Have you ever like allowed yourself to just keep going?
Yes, it's one of my real old ones. One of the first ones I did is like during the 2015 era. I think it's on YouTube. It's real old.
Okay.
I think it was Psalm 71. The one where Asaph was like, I'm seeing everybody living the life that they want to live, doing what they want to do. They all got money. I'm sitting up here, I'm broke, and blah, 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 blah. But when I came into church, I realized what my final destination is and what theirs is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I boo-hoo cried through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Through the whole thing. Because I always felt like I've been like a good girl my whole life, and I ain't got nothing to show for it. And everybody else get to do what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm broke, living paycheck to paycheck. I got nothing. I know it might not look like it, but I ain't got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have nothing. Like nothing going great for me. It's how I always looked at it. But everybody else get to do what they want to do. But I'm sitting here doing what you tell me to do, God. I'm being the good girl.
Yeah.
And like my life falling apart.
Yeah. So like I feel that. I feel that it's a hard dichotomy to kind of separate the two, where it's like God, you wanted me to live for you, but where is it that you're allowing me to reap what I'm sowing, kind of thing? Because you're giving back and stuff, but how you do to others, it would be done untoward you, kind of thing. And like if you keep doing that, like eventually that will happen, which it sounds like it is though. I feel like I mean just talking to you, just even like watching your stories, like you have an inspirational mindset, it sounds like, where even though you feel like, or at some times where you feel like you might have nothing, like God kind of answers those unanswered prayers that you didn't even really know that you were thinking, even though you are thinking them and stuff. Like I think about
when we think of things, we just think of materialistic things. But like when I look back over my life, like I'm blessed tremendously.
Yeah.
I have an amazing family, amazing support from people I don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
God has done so much for me. Like when I just look back on things, like I really be like, yeah, Lord, I'm sorry.
You got it all, yeah.
I'm sorry. I am blessed, but it's
Yeah.
like when we think about certain things that we want, because I used to want to be married and have children, and I ain't got none of that. And I was married, and then that didn't work out, and I blamed God for a long time about that. And so it was just, we just have to stop looking at certain, because some of the things that we want is not what God wants for us.
Yeah.
Like that marriage wasn't what God wanted for me or for him.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I had to learn to be okay with it.
And it's like you said earlier, where it's like God doesn't put that obstacle in front of you. It's just that at some point we may have just stopped listening.
Right.
And like to where it's like, no, you don't have to go that way. Like go this other way. But
we
nah,
want to
God.
go our own
Yeah,
way and
like,
do
yeah.
our own thing.
You won't tell me, God. I've been
Do what
listening to
I
my
want to do.
Yeah, I'm
see for
18.
myself.
Yeah, I feel you. And so when did you feel the change? Was it when you're in your teens? Was it when you were in your 20s? Like when did you feel that change to really that pool of answering, like really wanting to hear what God said, that still small voice? When did that really happen?
Man, don't make me cry. I don't want to cry up here. I think I was 16. I had just I was working at a Piggly Wiggly. I think I was coming home from work, and the song was a Yes by Shekinah Glory that I was listening to.
Oh, that's a good song.
Bro, I can honestly tell you I don't remember how I got home. By the time I came to, I was in the driveway, and I was like, man, this is crazy.
Yeah.
This is crazy. Because it's one thing when you go to church your whole life and they telling you what you got to believe, but when you actually start experiencing it for yourself,
Yeah.
like, can't nobody tell me nothing about God. Like, you can't tell me he ain't real or none of that. Only way I'm not going to believe is God be like, okay, I ain't real for real. I was
Yeah.
just playing. That's the only
But
way.
then at that point, it's like, wait a minute, who's talking to me then?
Right.
Yeah.
That's the only way. Nobody else can change my perception of how I feel about God. And I think that's why I had to step away from church for a while. Because church will have you thinking have a certain mindset of what God is. And I had to learn who he was for myself other than what they were trying to teach me.
Yeah, that makes sense. So as far as was when you were going to church and everything, was that more family side or okay? So like whenever that happened, I mean, was a lot of your hang-ups about Christianity and God from just like seeing different things, like because for me, I would hear a lot of like God wants you to do this, God wants you to do that, but watching like how my family did things, it wasn't in accordance to how they're being told, like, hey, you should be doing this, but then they're doing this. Like, was some of your separation from like experiencing things that just didn't correlate to the gospel you were learning, or?
Yeah, in a sense. For me, it was when I started really reading and studying, I was like, there's so much that y'all like putting God in a box. Like there are so many small details in the Bible that you learn so much about God, and I feel like they don't talk about it at church. It's always don't do this, don't do that, but they don't actually talk about the nuances or nothing. And I think that's one of the things that had kind of upset me about church in general is the sugarcoating of
The gospel.
Yeah.
Where it's like, because in Hebrews it talks about that, where at some point it'll go from us drinking the milk to where we'll actually have the meat.
And that was my thing. That's why I ended up, like, no shade to the church I grew up in. I love those people. But I just felt like I was ready for meat, and they were still sipping on milk.
Yeah. Like
and I
had
outgrew
that conversation. Like,
right. And even
point.
then, with me growing up, I'm an adult, but they still look at me as a child. And so when I talk, it's not respected, or they don't want to hear because you're still a kid, right?
Yeah.
So I think I had to step away from that situation and get to myself. And that's pretty much when COVID happened. I think in 2019, 2020, I stopped going to church. And that was right before COVID hit.
Yeah.
And I had to study and get to know God for myself. And then after, when did we join Momentum, Jeremy? Was it 2022?
It's about the time you started answering?
Right.
Yeah.
2022, we started going to Momentum Church in Creola.
Gotcha.
Which is completely different because Momentum is more millennial, because we're millennials. We're more millennial, whereas the church I went to was like more older traditional.
Yeah.
More older traditional Baptist.
So let me ask you, so would you feel that somebody that has experienced the Bible as you have, like now, like would you feel as if like going to your old church, would it feel as aggressive because now you understand where it's coming from, or like would it still be harsh and aggressive?
It still feels weird because I went back. My parents still go there.
Yeah.
I went back for something. It was some kind of program, and it was not the preacher that preaches at the church. It was just like a guest preacher. And I just shook my head the whole time. The whole time I was like, they need to get him off the pulpit. Now he need to sit down. Cause it was just a lot of, it was very showy. Like a lot of hollering and
like
talking about nothing.
This is how you learn to preach. You're not actually really telling
Right.
anything.
There was no Bible.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of just talking and yelling, and there was no substance at all. And everybody was just going, amen. And I'm like, what y'all amen?
What y'all amen for,
He ain't saying nothing.
Why is Mr. Jimmy helicoptering in the middle of the aisle? He didn't say nothing.
He didn't say nothing.
Yeah.
And there were like a few people, I think, that shared my mindset. They were all just looking at him like.
Yeah.
But I guess like people don't want to be rude, so they be like, amen, preach, pastor. And I was like, man, he need to sit down.
You know, and that does say a lot of stuff, in like, especially with our, the world these days, where we as younger minds, we are looking for more answers rather than just asking a bunch of questions. And I think at a certain point, like, it's hard for us to really do that. Like, we're so focused on asking questions that we forget to actually listen to the answers that we're asking for, and like for me, like it's always the biggest thing where like when I heard, sometimes you just got to shut up and let God say something, And it's like, just, yeah, you want to know, you want to know, you want to know. But if you don't stop talking, you don't give God a place to speak, then you don't really want to know. You just want to have that attention of like, oh, woe is me. Like, you're not really listening.
Right.
You're not really there. And like, and that, I definitely feel that. I resonate with that. And it's really hard too, especially because like when you as a certain person feels that experience, like you feel the preacher, like this doesn't feel like God's here. This doesn't feel like the presence. And it's like there are so many different times where at that point that preacher can be a hindrance to somebody inside of the church that's really looking for something or is hungry for something, because they themselves are just like in a very content stage in their lives where they're not even teaching. They're just going through the motions and just saying, God's going to heal you from this. God's going to heal you for this. But how?
But because healing ain't always what
true,
God.
yeah.
And I don't like that type of preaching. I don't like prosperity preaching. Is that what it's called, Jeremy? I don't like prosperity preaching because healing ain't always the answer that God has.
Yeah. Healing may not be that person you're hoping to be alive. Healing may be them passing on.
Right.
Or like, like healing may not be you getting to have a better relationship. It may be you accepting that it is what it is.
Right.
Like, yeah, I feel that. So okay, so you said 2022 you're at, what's the church that you're
Momentum.
at? Momentum. Mm-hmm. So did you kind of you started getting involved with them more and more, and then just kind of like, it just seemed like things kind of unraveled to just getting back into the Ghetto Bible Tales and like?
I think I had started Ghetto Bible Tales again right before I joined them. Like I was just going just to go. Because I think I started watching them online first. And then the pastor messaged me on Facebook and was like, why don't you come to service? And then I started going regularly. And then I joined. And then I convinced him to come with me. And then he joined. And then I got kind of like rededicated myself to God because I got baptized again. Because I got baptized like when I was a kid and it didn't really mean nothing. I was just doing it because it was something I was told. Like that's what you're supposed to do. So it meant more to me the second time when I got baptized in 2022. I think I got baptized that year. 2022.
Did you feel like that moment, kind of like we're just... things just kind of
Man, I don't know. That water was cold. That water was cold. But yeah, it felt like and it was like right around the time of my birthday. So it felt like a rebirth in a sense. And it was my Jesus year. We call year 33 our Jesus year. It was my Jesus year. And I got baptized on like right the week of my birthday. So it just kind of felt like this rebirth, like rededicating myself to God. And
well, I'm glad it wasn't like a true Jesus year, because if that, then there'd be a lot of people on crosses.
Man, you play too much. When we say Jesus year, that means kind of like stepping into your purpose or whatever.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I did. Yeah, no, I feel you. I love joking. I love joking about Jesus. Like the fact that like Jesus has crosses on and like pictures and stuff. I'm like, I don't know if
he would not have worn that, man.
But like it's just it's really
like,
fun.
Why would I wear what you?
Hey, I mean, but it's fun to think that like I feel like, especially that's what, again, like kind of drew me to your stuff is like, I love humanizing the Bible, where it's in such a way where like, for me, God was so expansive at some point where I had to start humanizing God in a way where I could understand God more, to be like, okay, this is what I feel like it means that, that I'm never alone, or like you're always with me, or like I feel like if at any point I'm disconnecting, to just like breathe and reconnect, like I started studying different religions and stuff and like understanding like different spiritual contexts and all that. And I'm like, all of them talk about centeredness. They talk about, coming back to that place, that spirit, that oneness within yourself. Like, and whether you call it God or call it chakras or call it, Wu Chi, Taoism or anything like that. Like what?
Wu Chi?
Oh yeah, Wu Chi. It's the everything in Taoism. It's like all things that basically, like before God made the universe, it was Wu Chi, which was everything. And then when the universe was founded or expanded, it separated into two different things, with the yin and the yang, which is male and female energies. And that's what the world is just a disbursement of balance of male and female energy. And in a way, you think about, for me, like whenever I thought about God, I'm like, that's interesting, because you have, the Holy Spirit, then you have God, and God is more certain, where it's like God knows, God is there, but the Holy Spirit is like grace and forgiveness, where it's like sometimes, you know, the male energy can be way more certain, and the female energy can be more loving and curious, which is, you know, the story of like Adam and Eve, where Adam was certain that he wanted to stay in the garden. He never touched the fruit, but then Eve was like, hey, here's this fruit. And then, like, you know, the curiosity of like, what if there's more? There's got to be more. There's something more. There's something more. You know, the furthering of the plot line in a way.
Did you just call the Holy Spirit a girl?
I said female energy. And you know, but that's the beautiful thing about it, is that it all has a female and a male energy. So like even if one thing has feminine energy, it still has masculine energy within it. So like, you know, some people might have more sensitivity, other people might not be as sensitive, but some people might be very sure about who they are, but then they might not have graciousness to accept themselves to be more than they are at that point. You know, like knowing that you need to learn something, and then knowing you need to accept that you don't know it yet, you know? And like, that's why I feel like some of that energy kind of like can coincide and mix together by saying, hey, I don't have this, but if I learn, or if I get to know God a little bit more, or get to, you know, understand where God's people are, like, at least that's that's just literally just, I'm just speaking from my own personal experience, you know? Like, where it's like, sometimes I just felt like God was just telling me to sit back and just understand and get to know the people, you know, because that was a big thing for me. Is like, how am I supposed to change anything, do anything? And then God was like, well, you got to get to know my creation. And I was like, well, what does that mean? It's like, well, you got to get to know the people. And I'm like you, like, I don't like talking to people. Like,
yeah, like, I'm very introverted, and I was just having this conversation with my brother. Was it last night? Where I was saying, like, God is trying to teach me how to love his people.
Yeah.
Because I don't have hope for humanity. Like, people should show you how horrible they are all day. And that's me included. I don't think I'm the best person in the world either. And I just be trying to understand why God loves humanity so much. Yeah. And I think that's what he's trying to teach me, because I've been through some stuff where he's teaching me how to love somebody in spite of how they treat me. Because I've been treated really bad by certain people. And God is like, but you got to love them anyway, because they still mine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how? Why?
Yeah.
And I think that's the lesson that he keeps trying to beat in my head, is you gotta love. You have to love people. You ain't gonna make it in if you don't love God's people.
It's like if I'm showing you that same grace,
right?
You gotta show that other person the same grace,
right?
Like, and that's where I, like, for me, where it's like when people kind of separate certain Bible stories to fit their own narrative. I'm like, well, if you're gonna listen to this one thing, you have to include these other things. Like, you can't say that you hate, you know, killing somebody, like, you know, an abortion or something like that, but then say that you care about people getting killed in some other country during a war. I mean, it may be separate, but they're still parallel in the fact that it's still humanity, it's still love, it's still a way to, like, get to the next step of, I guess it would be just acceptance and understanding, and knowing that even if we don't understand it, somebody else does. Like, I think there is a lot to know in the universe, but then at the same time, it's like, we don't need to know it all.
Right. We don't have to have all the answers.
Yeah.
All I know for sure is God is real.
Like, and then from there, it's like ...
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, make it in.
Yeah. And
I
you're
could
doing
be
it
the
for
garbage
you.
man in heaven. I don't care. I'm just trying to make it in.
But, they say that you'll have everything you need. So if you're a garbage man, you'd still have, like, all the stuff you need, Like,
right.
So it's like you wouldn't be without. And I think that's pretty amazing. But, and so I do appreciate you coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And I really wish I really want to do it longer, but like, I felt we'll do a part 2 or something.
We can.
But because I love talking the Bible. I'm a huge fan of, like, the Lot story and the whole Sodom and Gomorrah, like, blowing up and stuff, because I think that's just, when you look at the history.
Have you ever, like, read that story? Like, the whole neighborhood tried to rape these dudes. That is so crazy to me.
For me, like, from a logical perspective, I'm like, you think about God telling somebody in that whole area, like, hey, we found this really good place in the mountains to store our ammunitions. And, like, in mountains, there's always these gases that are always there. There's always something that's messed up. And somebody had got to have told somebody, hey, man, you probably shouldn't store this stuff here. And then one day somebody lit a flame and it blew up. You know, like just from the logical perspective, I'm just like, man, but they blame God. And I'm like, but what if it wasn't God that did it? You know? Like, what if it was just a happenstance of somebody being like, oh yeah, we're fine, we're good, we can do whatever we want to. And then someone's like, well, okay, light a flame, blow up everything. And it's like,
I mean, that's usually how it is. That's usually how it is.
I don't know. I do. And so that's why I enjoy what you do, like the educational side of it, but also just kind of like recognizing like it can be comical in a way.
Because to me, like, the Bible is real to me.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So I feel like these aren't characters. These are real people that went through real things. Like, Jonah really sat outside that city and waited for it to fall. Jonah really sat in the mouth of a great fish. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how he smelled coming out of that fish?
Well, you know, it didn't say that he washed. He just spit him out on the beach, and the old dude went into the high priest area and started saying, probably those 8 words was the reason, like, they were like, all right, man, you got to make it quick, bro. Like, you
Oh
gotta
my
rank,
God.
man. Like, you got to get out of here. And they were like, all right, yes, we hear you. Let's lay down, kneel down on our ashes and pray. But dude, you got to, out of town, like, go under a tree or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's funny to me.
It is very
That's funny. Like, you can't tell me God ain't got no sense of humor. Like, why would he create people that can make you laugh? Like, laughter is joy. Like, I just feel like it's not so, it don't have to be intense. Yeah, there are serious, there are serious moments in the Bible. God ain't nothing to play with, but there's still some comedy. Like, he wouldn't have made me if he wasn't funny.
Well, yeah, it's like, take it too seriously, you could die. Like,
right.
Like, you can have a heart attack if you take something so seriously to where you're anxious about it. Your heart can just end up seizing because you're so worried about it.
Right.
But if you could have a little bit of, laughter in there, then you're more balanced. You have that balance within you.
You have more joy.
Yeah.
More
definitely.
joy. That's what the world needs.
I feel you.
More joy.
Well, I appreciate y'all hanging out with us today. I'm here with Jerrica Wiley, who is the host of Ghetto Bible Tales on YouTube and Instagram. And is there other places that they can find you?
It's on Apple Podcasts.
Okay.
I think it's on Google Podcasts and Spotify too.
Okay.
And iHeartRadio.
DistroKid?
No. Buzzsprout.
Okay. Well, that is one of the good. What is that monthly like? Is that one of those things that like goes everywhere, like all the streaming platforms? So there you go. Like, there's a lot of great places to be able to create avenues for your music, for your entertainment to go at multiple places. So Buzzsprout is the one that Jerrica uses. So if you enjoy Jerrica's content, follow like she does and go on the streaming services that she uses. And remember to check out Roku and our YouTube channel, because that's where you'll be able to find this full episode. But also right now, if you're watching Patreon, you already know that it's on Patreon. So it's on Patreon now. But then we're going to go into it, and we're going to put the frills and thrills in there, put some commercials and stuff in there. Carson and Austin and myself and Eric will do some cool things, and we'll get them to you. But we appreciate y'all tuning in tonight. I'm Sergio with Offbeat, live inside of Quasi Studios, brought to you by All This Entertainment. I'm here with Jerrica Wiley, and we appreciate y'all just listening to the stuff. So thank you very much. We have Carson and Austin behind the cams. We have Chris behind the tech direct chair. We have Jim behind the light. I'm pretty sure he's cooking the light. So if you've noticed that, the light changes every now and then. Again, as we said in the first bit of it, if you know how to change that, you let us know. We'll send you a sticker, or you can come to a live viewing. So remember to hang out with us, become a member, and you'll get included in exclusive content, early content, as well as behind the scenes content on our Patreon. And again, check out the Roku and the YouTube. Check out our Instagram pages and our Facebook pages. Check out Jerrica's pages. Support your local artist, and we'll see y'all next time on another episode of Offbeat. Thank you very much. I didn't even say my name.
You didn't say
That's
your name?
okay. I'm Sergio. They know who I am by now. Did I
I
say that?
I thought you did.
I thought I just said the name of the podcast in the studio. I always forget to say my name. Say my name.
Oh my God, get out my head.
Yeah.
I was going to start saying that.
Well, clearly I did not listen to that song. Cool. We out?